it's Lisa. Today I'd like to share with you a free motion quilting project that I've been working on for some practice. Welcome to my studio. Today is a bit of a dreary day here in North Carolina, and I have a lot of artificial light on in the craft room, so I hope that it works out for us. I've been working on this project for the last 3 weeks or so. Since I first got my Handiquilter Capri, which is a version of a long arm. It's the kind of quilting machine where you move the fabric under the head of the machine as opposed to a movable head. So it's very similar to working with a home machine for quilting. But ever since I got this, I've been using it pretty steadily. But I had a period there of about a month where I didn't quilt. And when I went back to it, the quality of my work just didn't suit me very much. And I remembered that I had this fabric. I cannot tell you the manufacturer of this. I wish I could. I bought this probably more than a year ago at a local quilt shop. And I bought it because I loved the colors that were in here. These are colors that are, a lot of these I have in the downstairs area of my house and living areas, and I just thought this would be great to do something with. But I hadn't quite figured out what to do with it, and I bought 2 yards, which is quite a bit for me. I don't stash usually that much of any particular fabric. But I realized that it would make a beautiful tablecloth. But by itself, quilt fabric is not the greatest tablecloth because it's just not heavy enough. It's not going to hold up. So when I was thinking about that I needed some quilting practice, I remembered this fabric and I got it out and I'm turning it into a tablecloth. So I'm also on this journey of trying to use what's in my stash because I have a lot of fabric. Especially the last couple of years, I have really built up my stash, going from buying quarter yard and 30-yard pieces to half and full yard pieces, and it's really starting to mount up. So I need to utilize some of these fabrics. So I had the gold in my stash, and the backing fabric was left from another quilt where I bought 108-inch wide backing fabric. So I had everything I needed. I even had some batting. I would have really liked even a little bit thinner batting than this, but this was what I had on hand. So I am turning this into a tablecloth. And how it works as practice for me is I'm just going around all of the black areas and the outline areas of all the designs and just quilting them. And it helps me, and there's an area I can see that I missed, and it's helping me to focus on control of the of where the quilting is going. Now when I'm doing my quilting myself, it's actually a little easier than following the lines, I think. I've done this kind of thing of trying to follow the lines before. When I first started free motion quilting, I had this fabric that was these horses. And I had bought it for something I was going to make for somebody, and I didn't end up doing it. But it had horses and other maybe, I don't remember if it had barns or trees or something on the fabric. But I outline quilted, basically went around all the shapes. And that helped me to gather some control. And that's what this is doing. So let me show you a little bit of the actual quilting. So as you can see, I'm just going around each of the different elements. This might not be the way that I would approach them if I were creating this design from scratch, but it helps me again with the control. And so it gets me a little bit of warm up on the machine and helps me create a project at the same time. So where I am on this is it's almost finished. As I said, I've got to lay it out here on a good flat surface. I'll probably take it down to the dining room and lay it on the table and just see what areas I'm missing and maybe mark those with a pen so it'll be easy to find them when I come back up here and I'll finish quilting it. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to quilt these borders. And I made some drawings last night. Let me go get that and I'll show you what I'm going to do for the borders. So to do the border, I'm going to utilize the same kind of design that they have done for a lot of the feathers in this fabric. When I took a feather class on Craftsy, and I'll link that below, it was from, I think it's Patsy Thompson? As I say, I'll put it in the description. It's a wonderful, wonderful class. If you are doing free motion quilting and you want to try feathers, she makes it so easy. You know, everything requires practice, but she really explains things well, and it's just a great class. And I bought that class. I had a subscription, and you could get so many classes as part of your subscription, and this was one that I bought because I watched the whole thing like 3 or 4 times, but I knew I would want to refer back to it, and I did. I watched last night this particular feather. It's called a bump back feather, and you quilt a plume, and then when you quilt the next plume, you're coming back across, and you're basically doing 2 at a time. So let me show you in a drawing how those are done. And that's what I'm going to quilt on the border. So you start with your first plume, and then when you make your next plume, you come up over and you come and link to the first one that you made. And then you backtrack till you get to the top of the little hump, and then you make your next feather. And you continue in that pattern for stitching these. And there are other videos. You can find videos on YouTube, but I think that particular class is really good. But that's the way that you do these types of feathers. And you can go make them wider or narrower. It makes a beautiful feather design. So I'm going to put a little bit of that video into this one as well when you see this. So you'll see how that works. So I'm starting here at the base of the spine, and I'm putting on one of the plumes. And then I'm going to swing out above it and come back in and touch the edge, backtrack a little bit, and then swing out and come back to the spine. So you're making them in pairs, going over above. You're doing the outside edges of each pair before coming back to the middle. And you just keep repeating that. You can make them as large as you want to fill a space. You can make them skinny or wider, whatever suits your project. It makes a really pretty feather. I hadn't done these in a while. I'm really glad that I had this project to bring them back into my repertoire. So thanks for joining me today and seeing what I'm working on right now in the quilting part of my craft journey. I do a lot of crafts. I do cards. I still do a little bit of scrapbooking, not as much scrapbooking. I'm starting to do watercolors, like I need another hobby. But I just love to create all kinds of crafts. And one of the things you'll see behind me is this quilt. And that is one that I have pieced. I still like the border. I'm still deciding for sure what I'm going to do on the border on that quilt. And then I will quilt it. And I have another one ready to quilt. So I decided I better do some quilting and then get back to the piecing part of things. When you do a lot of different things, sometimes it can take a while to finish a project. So anyway, but I'll keep you posted on these videos. So thank you for watching today, and I hope you'll join me next time.